Thank you. Again, thank you all for your patience. Here's Captain McQuiston. She's from the CDC, and we'll provide some opening statements and available some questions.
Hi, good afternoon or good evening, everyone. I know you're very interested to learn about how the flight coming in, how it all went. So I have a couple of prepared statements for you, and then I'll be happy to take a couple of questions. So my name is Captain Jennifer McQuiston. I am the CDC team lead here at JBSA Lackland, and I am in charge of making sure that the individuals who have been evacuated from China are kept safe and healthy during their 14-day quarantine period, which will happen here at JBSA Lackland. I'm happy to report that the plane touched down safely at 12:21 p.m. Central Time today. We escorted the passengers off the plane, we screened them, we took their temperatures, and I am happy to report that we did not find any evidence of illness among the passengers who landed here today. We're still reconciling our case count. Some of the passengers were loaded back onto the plane to travel on to Omaha, Nebraska, but I can tell you that we will have less than 100 passengers staying here at JBSA Lackland for their quarantine period. And we'll be able to release final numbers to you later this evening after we reconcile with the manifests. All the passengers that are staying here have been issued an official federal quarantine order under the statutory authority of the HHS Secretary. And that quarantine will last for 14 days from when the plane left China. And the plane left at approximately 6 p.m. our time yesterday. So that is a 14-day countdown from that time period. It may seem surprising to some that we are taking such aggressive legal measures. It has been over 60 years since we issued a federal quarantine like this. The last order was issued during the smallpox era. But the goal of our team here is to protect the safety and health of not only these citizens, but the citizens of San Antonio and America. And we feel that this is the best way to ensure that protection. Because these people traveled to Wuhan or lived within that area, they are considered exposed to coronavirus. That doesn't mean they'll get sick. It just means they have the potential to get sick if they were exposed to someone with it. And that's why this 14-day quarantine period is so important. An incubation period is the length of time for when someone is exposed to a pathogen or a virus like the coronavirus till they get sick. And we know based on other coronaviruses that 14 days is the maximum length of time for an incubation period for those coronaviruses. And we feel confident that the same facts apply in this case. While in quarantine, everyone is going to undergo twice daily temperature screens, and we have medical staff there at their housing 24 hours a day for the entirety of their quarantine period. So if anyone shows any signs of illness, they will receive an immediate medical evaluation, and anyone who is ill with symptoms of coronavirus will be transported very quickly by EMS to a hospital that has been arranged through the local San Antonio Health Department. Before I take questions, I want to reiterate to everyone that we all have a role to play as we work together to control the spread of this virus. CDC knows that there will be coronaviruses in the United States. There have already been several that came in with travelers, and there have been a couple of cases that were associated with people who had very close personal contact with those who cared for coronavirus patients. But for the most part, Americans are not at current risk for coronavirus. The highest risk to Americans is still traveling in China, where the virus is spreading rapidly. We're very confident that we can keep the quarantined people here safe and that we can contain coronavirus if it is found in any of them. And I'm very happy to be a part of the CDC team that's here to make sure that this effort goes smoothly and that we're welcoming these people back home where we can take care of them properly. Thank you, and I'd be happy to take any questions now.
You've given your assurances and reassurances, but you know that there are people who will be asking, can you guarantee that we will not be at risk?
What I can guarantee is that we're taking every measure that we know to ensure that this quarantine period is carried out as safely as possible. applying very sound science to our methods. I really feel that what we're doing here is more than is needed to control coronavirus, and I feel very confident that the quarantine period will go smoothly.
Are you planning to receive any more evacuees in the near future?
I have not been instructed that any more evacuees are coming. That is a matter for the State Department to decide.
Are they men, women, and children here, 100 or so?
Yes, there were men, women, and children. A lot of very, very tired children.
And what were they doing in China, generally speaking?
So we did not particularly ask them that. I think it's a mixed bag. I think there are some people who were there visiting and they got caught when the travel restrictions were put in place in China. I think there are some people who were living there or working there. What is important is that they were there in a time period when they may have been exposed to the virus, and that we're working to get them here so we can keep them quarantined and make sure they're healthy.
Some of the evacuees who came off the plane were in wheelchairs. Was that just related to other disabilities and not to like their health state as it relates to coronavirus?
No, so as you can imagine, many people are very tired at the end of a trip, and some people might have natural mobility issues. So whatever measures were taken to get people off the plane, it was just to get them off the plane safely.
Will the families be in rooms together, or is it each person individually? Can you explain how it works?
Yes, families can stay together in housing, and for the most part, that's what we've tried to do. There may be some families that don't all fit in a room, and maybe for some cases, multiple rooms were issued to a family, but no, the housing is not one person to a room. There are small children that need the care of their parents.
I'm sure you would have said, but we heard a little bit from reports that some of those who arrived in California or either had symptoms or perhaps tested for coronavirus, possibly.
So I've been working really hard today. I've spent many hours in a hangar, and I have not had a chance to check my emails. And so I don't have information on whether there were PUIs or what we call persons of interest that were screened out of California. I feel very confident that if they found anyone who had any concerning health symptoms, that they immediately took them for medical care and screening. So I'm sure that if you're seeing that reported, that's what that's referring to.
Can you go through the process of deplaning the decontamination of luggage? Did you have to decontaminate the plane?
So the plane, when it is done, I mean, the plane is still moving on to Nebraska right now, and so after it lands in Nebraska and those passengers are off, it is a privately owned aircraft. I mean, it's a contracted aircraft, and so cleaning procedures are part of that, and it will be thoroughly cleaned and decontaminated. It is not a commercial air carrier. It looked like a cargo plane. I was on it, and it was not the type of plane that we typically fly on. They were boarding passengers as I came here. So I don't have a time on Wheels Up, but I know that they were actively boarding as I left.
And are the demographics of the people flying to Omaha roughly the same as people that came here flying?
Yes, so Travis roughly sorted people as to those who would stay here and those who would go on. And we did end up keeping a few that were meant to go on to Omaha just because they had some mobility issues, and I believe that the housing in Omaha involves stairs.
2 weeks is a long time. Is there anything that people in this community could do to help these people pass the time? Perhaps make donations for some of the children that have toys or something like that. Is there anything that we could do to make things better?
That is a great question. I think it's really important to emphasize that these people have been through a very long and challenging journey, and they're very tired, and they do not come with their normal items for comfort. They're probably feeling very out of place here, and I think they really deserve our empathy. And I know it would be very challenging for me to think about being in a situation where I had to evacuate a place where I was and not know what was going to happen to me. I know that people who are worried about these individuals might want to help them. I think the best thing you can do is reach out to local Red Cross. I know that the Red Cross is connected with our teams who are working with the individuals, and they may be able to identify comfort items or other ways that the community members can support these evacuees to show them good San Antonio hospitality.
What is the age range of the evacuees?
So I still have to go over the manifest, and so I don't actually have the age ranges. I can tell you that there were babies in people's arms, and there were older individuals as well.
If an evacuee becomes sick and is transferred to a local hospital, when and how will that information be shared?
So Right now, San Antonio local health department is working on the transfer of any patients that become ill to regional hospital or to a local hospital, and we are not releasing the names of the hospital at this time. I can tell you that if anyone is confirmed with coronavirus, there will be a statement.
Will it involve local medical personnel or personnel from here? And also, the public will wonder, well, are they going to take them to a public hospital? Why expose the public in their mind? Why not take them to a military hospital?
So the evacuation operation, JBSA Lackland's contribution to this is primarily lodging and then sort of the logistical support of how to pull all of this off, and they have been absolutely amazing. But the medical care is not part of their mission. The medical care of these individuals is part of CDC's mission. It's our job to protect the safety and health of Americans, and then it's also a local mission. So local San Antonio and the state of Texas are all involved in the public health safety of their citizens. So I think it's important to note that all across America, and San Antonio and Texas are no exception, hospitals are preparing for possible coronavirus cases. You could have any traveler returning and possibly have been exposed if they were in China and particularly in the Hubei province. So while we're taking these extreme precautions here, hospitals all over America are taking their own precautions, and local hospitals know what to do in order to protect against coronavirus. Coronavirus is not like Ebola. Ebola is a very deadly, dangerous pathogen. Coronavirus can kill, but we already know about other coronaviruses. This is a new and emerging virus, but other coronaviruses cause the common cold, some types of the common cold, for example. And we also know that two diseases called severe acute respiratory syndrome, or SARS, and Middle East respiratory syndrome, or MERS, are both caused by coronaviruses. And we've known about those for many years, and we have been studying them. So we can apply what we know from those to this new emerging virus.
What is the greatest concern that you and staff have in meeting the greatest concern you'll
Well, I know this sounds odd, but right now I've been given the wrong telephone, and I'm getting the phone calls from everybody who want extra towels in their room. So that's a concern for me. But I think my biggest concern is that these individuals are about to enter a very tough 14-day quarantine period. They don't know what's coming. They don't have the items that they're comfortable with. And it's our job to make sure that they're not only safe, but they're comfortable. And this is not a role that CDC is traditionally engaged in. And so I need to be thinking about things on all levels.
Can you tell us about the test kits that will be distributed to different laboratories?
So as I mentioned, I've been working all day on this activity, and so I have heard that kits are shipping out from CDC, but I don't have details on timing for what will arrive here in Texas. I will also tell you that just shipping the kits out doesn't mean that a state is actively ready to start testing. They actually have to validate the test in their own laboratory with the personnel who are going to be using it, and that can take a little while. I'm sorry. Can you help call for folks?
Do you know any of the patients that remain in Travis have been tested positive?
I have not received any information on patients that may have been evaluated at Travis and may have been taken for medical evaluation. I haven't gotten any information on whether they've tested positive. It would be very surprising to me that a patient who was taken off a plane this morning would already have a positive coronavirus test, because those samples have to be shipped to CDC right now.
Next question over here. We have time for a few more questions. Okay. Now, if they still want run a fever, is that when they're going to be transported to a hospital?
A fever of 100.4 or greater is enough to trigger them going to a hospital.
Any more questions? One more question there. Well, we were told there was a 4-hour delay in the anticipated arrival was pushed back here. What was the cause of that?
I think they were late taking off in China. So I don't know the reason for it. It may have just been that they had a lot of people, a lot of luggage, but we just knew what our time frame was based on when they left China, and there was a delay coming out of that country.
And then protocols following that, every operations were fine?
Everything has been smooth, yes.
So how many left China on one plane?
So I don't have the manifest numbers in front of me, unfortunately. Like I said, we're going to release the numbers later. I do know with 100% certainty that we are housing less than 100 people here at JBSA Lackland, and that number is significantly less than they had originally projected to plan for. They were planning for up to 250, but the number of people that boarded and left in China was lower than the original State Department estimates.
Folks, we will follow up with the details. You all know how to get in touch with me by email. So we're going to let Captain McQuiston get back to the mission on base. Thank you very much. And as she stated, CDC will issue a statement if there is a confirmed case. Right?
How long does it take to do the testing? Because you said they have to be shipped back to CDC.
Yeah, right now there are no states actively testing that I'm aware of. So
No, but I mean, if there's a PUI.
if there's a PUI, it goes to the local hospital, collects a sample, it goes to the local laboratory, and they have procedures in place to pack it up and ship it to CDC, and they will ship it by the fastest means possible. And I do know that CDC is prioritizing testing of these samples because they understand how important it is and how concerned people are.
Okay, thank you very much all for your patience. And
Thank you.
For us today.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate your interest.